Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and, honestly, for a lot of us, deeply validating piece of analysis called Why High Intelligence is Social Poison. I want to start by acknowledging something that a lot of us feel, but while we rarely have the courage to say it out loud. And that's the fact that sometimes being deeply authentic, being truly unapologetically real, can feel incredibly lonely. Have you ever noticed that? Like, the more honest you are with yourself and the people around you, the more isolated you kind of become in certain social circles. It's a complete paradox, and it drives a lot of independent thinkers absolutely crazy. So today we're going to unpack exactly why that happens by looking really closely at the hidden mechanics of social dynamics, intelligence, and the surprisingly heavy price of authenticity.
So why does realness make people so uncomfortable? Think about your own day-to-day life for a second. Have you ever sat in a crowded room, listening to just trivial small talk, and felt entirely alienated because you simply couldn't bring yourself to fake it? You know the feeling. You smile, you nod politely, but inside, your brain is completely rejecting the entire performance. And then, when you finally do speak your truth, or you just refuse to engage in that superficial banter, the room suddenly gets quiet. The discomfort is literally palpable. Why is that? Well, this source material gives us a brilliant analytical lens to understand exactly what's happening under the surface in those incredibly awkward moments.
That brings us to our first core section, the realness problem and the isolating nature of honesty. Let's dive in. Social poison. It sounds pretty dramatic, doesn't it? But according to our source text, it's accurately defined as the isolating effect caused by an inability to fake small talk and a commitment to unapologetic honesty. Now, we normally think of honesty as this universally welcomed trait, right? But the reality of human interaction is, frankly, a lot more complicated. Everyday society kind of runs on this necessary level of polite fiction. Think about what a poison actually does. It disrupts a functioning system. When you literally cannot feign interest in surface-level chatter, you aren't just passively opting out. You're actually actively disrupting the established flow. Your presence effectively poisons those casual, everyday group dynamics. You're not trying to be difficult or contrarian, but your sheer unwillingness to perform the expected social script acts as a toxic element to the superficial harmony that the rest of the room is trying so desperately to maintain. Your honesty is isolating you. Wow. Let that sink in for a second. It's a heavy, really profound realization. From the time we're little kids, we're taught that honesty is the ultimate virtue, It's the best policy, the foundation of a good character. And yet, the social observation presented here points to a very different, much harsher practical reality. What feels like a profound virtue internally is actually the exact mechanism pushing other people away. You're essentially being socially penalized just for being real. All right, moving on to Section 2, refusing to fake it. Let's explore the psychology of the unconventional. Now, what's really fascinating here is how the source distills this whole concept down to two very specific psychological traits. This explains what's actually going on in the brain of someone who commits this kind of unintentional social sabotage. First up, a low tolerance for inauthenticity. For highly intelligent, deeply analytical people, this is almost like a physical allergic reaction to fakeness. You literally lack the internal patience required to nod along with something you know is superficial, hollow, or just flat out untrue. And second, low social conformity. You just don't possess that innate, biological drive to blend in purely for the sake of blending in. Put these two traits together and they perfectly explain why highly authentic people struggle so intensely in standard group settings. Let's trace exactly how this plays out, step by step, in real time. So, step 1, you encounter small talk. Someone brings up a totally trivial topic. Maybe it's a celebrity rumor, some office gossip, or just mundane weather chat. Then step 2 kicks in. Your internal system immediately goes to work and just flat out rejects the inauthenticity of the exchange. Because, well, your brain is craving depth, meaning an actual stimulation, and instead it's being fed empty calories. And finally, step 3. Because of your low social conformity, you refuse to play along. You don't force the fake laugh. You don't ask the polite expected follow-up question. The interaction just breaks down entirely. The social script fails simply because you refuse to read your assigned lines. Which leads us directly to the other side of the equation. Here's Section 3, the need for sameness and how groups actually bond. To really fully grasp why authentic behavior is perceived as social poison, we have to turn the camera around, right? We need to understand what the rest of the room is doing while the independent thinker is pulling away.
The source makes this absolutely crucial observation. People bond over sameness and trends. This right here is the glue of standard human interaction. Typical social cohesion relies really heavily on mimicking shared behaviors. It's like I wear what you wear, I watch the shows you watch. We complain about the exact same mundane things. It's a vital signaling mechanism that says, hey, I'm part of the tribe, we're the same, we are safe together. When the average group jumps on a trend or engages in small talk, they aren't necessarily looking for intellectual stimulation. No, they're looking for safety and comfort in numbers.
And this brilliantly illustrates the clash we've been talking about. On one hand, we have group behavior, bonding over sameness, mimicking trends, and finding psychological comfort in homogeneity. Then, on the other hand, we have independent behavior, questioning those unspoken social rules and flat out refusing to mimic what everyone else is doing just to fit in. When these two opposing forces meet in a room, friction is absolutely guaranteed. Think about it. The group fundamentally needs sameness to feel secure, while you fundamentally need authenticity to feel sane.
And that brings us to the final and honestly perhaps the most important section of this explainer today. Section 4. Independence, not arrogance, the ultimate misunderstanding. So how does the group actually interpret your refusal to play their game? Like, what story are they telling themselves about your silence? Well, the source offers this incredibly validating insight. They mistake your independence for arrogance. When you don't engage in the small talk, when you don't mimic the trends, the group doesn't logically sit back and think, oh, hey, they just have a low tolerance for inauthenticity. Nope, they take it personally. The negative reactions you experience, the cold shoulders, the weird looks, the whispers behind your back, they are entirely based on a fundamental misread of your intentions. They literally think you believe you're better than them, when in reality, you just operate on a completely different wavelength. We really need to permanently dismantle this misunderstanding right now. Society pushes this myth that your quietness, your stepping back from the crowd, is rooted in arrogance, superiority, and just a stubborn, selfish refusal to fit in. But the reality, derived straight from our source text, is rooted in intellectual independence and low social conformity. Questioning the rules isn't about feeling superior to anybody else. It's actually a fierce, unyielding commitment to your own authenticity. You aren't judging the group, you are just refusing to abandon yourself to make them comfortable.
So, I want to leave you with a final, kind of provocative question today. Would you rather have comfortable sameness or isolating independence? It's the ultimate trade-off highlighted by our source material today. High intelligence, deep realness, and a flat-out refusal to fake it come with a really steep price tag. And that price is very often social comfort. But, understanding these hidden psychological mechanics gives you the power to make that choice consciously, rather than just feeling like you're a victim of it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the world around you, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.